Tenants in Oakland, California say that the 3 year eviction moratorium kept them from being unhoused. But actually, they wanted landlords to be the homeless shelter and social service provider to give them free housing. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have an interesting article for you today, and once again, it's coming out of Oakland, California. I've covered Oakland and I've covered Alameda County several times because they have one of the longest eviction moratoriums in the entire country. It only just recently ended, and it's not quite really done because if somebody said that they suffered a hardship due to the pandemic, they still have some eviction protections, not to mention California and Alameda County and Oakland have some of the strongest eviction protections for tenants in the entire country, if not the strongest. So landlords there are suffering. And this article is actually covering the story of a couple of landlords who they haven't been paid. They haven't been paid in like 3 years. And they're not big, corporations. They are small mom and pop landlords, and they are just a microcosm of the whole issue, okay? The issue being that they expect landlords to provide this housing for these people, but they're not giving them any compensation for it. They aren't making any, giving them any breaks on terms of what their costs are. And it's putting these landlords into financial ruin, okay? And these landlords, they're not rich people. Okay, they are just normal people who just happen to own a property and rented it out in the wrong location. Now, I would give anybody who thinks that they want to be a small landlord in a place like Oakland or even in the state of California, anywhere, I'd give them a stern warning saying, hey, this is what can happen to you. This is a very, very likely scenario when you're dealing with a state that gives, the tenants all of the property rights and gives the landlords almost none. So before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like and subscribe button, maybe leave a comment down below and let me know what you think. So what do you think of the state of California thinking, oh, well, the landlords, it should be on their backs to be the homeless provider, the homeless shelter, and the social service provider for all these poor people who can't afford housing. What do you think of that? Okay. Now, they tried this stuff all throughout the country. Fortunately, the Supreme Court threw out the CDC's eviction moratorium years back. But hey, these local eviction moratoriums in California, they still exist, and it is a huge, huge problem. Okay. And my opinion has always been if you want a social service provider, if you want a homeless shelter, you better go talk to the government. That is not the job of a private individual or a private business. Okay. That's stupid to even think so. You don't expect the grocery store down the street to just give their food away for free to whoever can't afford it. That's dumb. But you expect landlords to give their housing away for free? What kind of idiocy is this? Anyway, let's get into the article. This article is coming from apnews.com, and it says, tenants say a 3 year ban on evictions kept them housed. Landlords say they're drowning in debt, and they will be drowning in debt if they haven't already faced foreclosure, okay? Their credit could be ruined. They could lose their housing, and they could be the ones who end up on the street. I've covered several stories where the landlord was the one who was homeless because the tenant screwed them over. Anyway, let's get into this article and see what it says. Retiree Pamela Hale has paid property taxes, insurance, and other bills on a house she lets out in Oakland. But for more than 3 years, her tenants have paid no rent thanks to one of the longest lasting eviction bans in the country. The eviction moratorium in the San Francisco Bay Area city expires next month, and Hale can't wait. The 69-year-old estimates she has owed more than $60,000 in back rent, money she doubts she will ever see. Moreover, the tenants have trashed her house, and it will cost tens of thousands of dollars to make it habitable, she says. It's unbelievable, and it's like, how can they have the nerve to just let something like this happen? If this happened to them, how would they feel, Hale said of her tenants. Dealing with this whole thing gets me so upset. 3 years without having to pay the rent. 3 years. Keep that in mind, okay? If these people don't have their stuff together right now, they are never, ever going to have their stuff together. The only thing they're doing is cheating the system. Any politician who says otherwise is a moron. Okay? Nobody should be unable to pay their rent for 3 years unless they are, just seriously mentally ill or have an extreme, addiction problem, gambling, drugs, alcohol, etc. Okay? Or they're just lazy. That's the other option. They're just lazy. And why are we protecting the lazy? I'm betting that the majority of the people who haven't been able to pay the rent for the last 3 years are just lazy. The grand majority. They don't want to work. They want something for free, and they know the landlord has to provide it because the state, the government itself, will take the landlord's property from them, throw the landlord in jail, and say, "Well, you should have gave them the free property." No, 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 no. This is idiocy. This is idiocy. This is what we call socialism gone wrong. I just did a video on that very topic. Okay, when you have more people who want to take from the system than people want to give, well, you're going to hit a huge, huge crisis. So let's continue. Eviction moratoriums were put in place across the U.S. at the start of the pandemic in 2020 to prevent displacement and curb the spread of the coronavirus. Most expired long ago, but not in Oakland or neighboring San Francisco and Berkeley, all places where rents and rates of homelessness are high. While it's more common to see tenants converging on city halls in California to demand greater protections, in Oakland and surrounding Alameda County, small property landlords staged protests earlier this year demanding an end to the moratoriums. Many of the landlords were black, like Hale, or Asian American, and they said the eviction bans had saddled them with debt and foreclosure worries while their tenants who have jobs live rent-free. And see, that's one of the big issues right there, okay? They let the people swear, without any proof whatsoever that they were suffering economic problems and they were unable to pay the rent, okay? They didn't require any proof whatsoever of the tenant to be protected by these eviction protections. So you had tenants who kept working, still making money, still living up their life good, but now all of a sudden they don't have their biggest expense anymore. Think about that, okay? Let's say your rent is $1,500 a month, just as an example, right? I don't know what rents are in Oakland. They might be quite a bit higher than that, I'm pretty sure, in a lot of cases. So let's just say, though, it's $1,500 a month. But now you have that $1,500 a month to go spend on whatever you want, be it shopping sprees down at the local stores, be it on alcohol and drugs, whatever it is. You're just like, hey, I get to pocket this money, and you've done that for the last 3 years. And in this landlord's case, she's owed 60 grand. 60 grand. And you've just been able to stay in this place for that whole time. And you're still, I can't survive. I'd be on the street if maybe you deserve to be on the street. Have you ever thought about that? If you're not working, and maybe you deserve to be on the street. You're a piece of crap for screwing this lady over, okay? You screwed this lady over. You stole 60 grand from her. You stole her property from her. And you think, oh, we should have sympathy for you? No, I'm not that kind of person. I look at the reality of the situation, and lazy is not an excuse. They scolded elected leaders for allowing tenants to self-certify that their inability to pay was tied to the pandemic. Unlike large corporate landlords, these small property owners said they didn't have the means to evict and were eaten up by worry. There is nothing natural about being forced to house and have people live in your property for over 3 years and not pay, said Michelle Haley, who is also black and owns a triplex where both her tenants stopped paying. There is nothing natural, ethical, or even humane about that. So yeah, you're forced to house. Like you are the homeless shelter for these people. You are the social service provider. You're the government. You're the Section 8. You're the one paying Section 8 to yourself, I guess, because you got to pay all these tenants' bills for them. Okay? You're their mom and dad. I got to take care of this random person over here because they're too lazy to actually take care of themselves. Yeah, well, you know what? This is a warning to landlords who are thinking about buying a small property or maybe renting a small property in the state of California, and in particular in the San Francisco Bay Area. This can happen to you, okay? This is why I tell people, don't waste your time investing there. If you're going to do anything, flip a house. Don't even put tenants in there. Just buy a house low, sell it high, if you're going to do any sort of real estate investing. But don't waste your time. If you're a small landlord in particular, where you don't have the means to survive 3 years and not getting paid rent, or having to go through a very expensive eviction process, then don't waste your time, because you're going to get screwed. And that's exactly what happened to these landlords here. I'll put a link to the article in the description so you can read the rest. It's really quite interesting.